New Disabled South presents.
My dad and my brother said that the first thing I said to them was, I can't feel my legs. I don't want to live.
In West Virginia, one of the nation's poorest states, tens of thousands rely on both Medicare and Medicaid just to get through the month. For many, survival is where the help stops. At 20, a sledding accident left Cori paralyzed. What followed was a crash course in how two massive programs work and fail together. I'm Stacey Abrams, and this is Dual, the true cost of care.
Dual, the true cost of care. The accident and the system.
Cori was 20, living with a roommate and set to return to college. A sledding adventure with her younger sister changed everything.
Some people were like, oh, you should go sled riding here. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And took my sister. I mean, I wouldn't have took her if I didn't think that it was safe to sled ride there. Went down a hill. I don't remember, but I landed on a parking slab, and that broke T5 and T6 and severed my spinal cord around T3, T4. So I don't remember a few days after my spinal cord injury because I think shock. I was talking to people. I was aware as far as people say, but I don't remember anything until like Christmas Day, so 3 days later, and I don't really remember much.
She spent a month in the hospital, never alone, her family always there. Reality hit fast. She was paralyzed, but uninsured. Her mother enrolled her in Medicaid after discharge. For 2 years, the program was a lifeline. Then she qualified for Medicare under disability rules, and the ground shifted.
So then I qualified for Medicare, and when I qualified for Medicare, they said I didn't qualify for Medicaid anymore, so I just had Medicare. And that didn't pay for any prescriptions, which I was on a lot of prescriptions, especially at first.
Cori appealed twice at the Department of Health and Human Resources. Twice she was denied. For months, maybe nearly a year, she lived on Medicare alone. Family and friends helped her cover medications, but some prescriptions she simply stopped. Then, someone at West Virginia University's Center for Excellence in Disabilities said what no one at the department had. There's a Medicaid waiver.
Nobody at DHHR mentioned Medicaid waiver, even though it's through DHHR. Nobody told me that, even though they saw me, obviously paralyzed.
For people with the most complex needs, waivers can be the difference between living at home and being institutionalized. But you have to know they exist, and you have to ask the right way.
The waiver, a lifeline, but not enough.
The waiver brought Medicaid back, but in narrow bands. Cori received 10 to 15 hours of help a week at first.
I actually got a really good person. Like, she was really nice and helpful and wanted to help me and get out of the house and do things. And I went through a few different people because I needed somebody at a different time, and had some issues with people. One person just wasn't dependable, or would call off at the last minute. And I remember they sent somebody, and the person came, and one of the things they told me was that if they were in the situation I was in, that they would kill themselves. And that's not what I needed to hear at 22 years old, when I'm already struggling with trying to do things differently, and I'm always in pain. And, when you're already a person that deals with depression and anxiety, You don't need people telling you things like that. Strangers that are there to help you.
Another aide no-showed. A temp came once and never returned. One worker refused tasks. The agency sided with the worker, even after her father witnessed what really happened.
But they wanted to believe her instead of believe me. And my dad was there. He saw it.
In the end, her mother stepped in as caregiver. She was reliable, loving, and effectively underpaid for a second job she could never clock out from.
They don't get paid a lot, so I understand why they aren't getting people, knocking down the door wanting these jobs. So my mom worked her normal job, and then she worked helping me because I could trust that she was going to show up. I could trust that she was going to, do the stuff that needed done.
Coverage gaps keep opening. At first, Medicare only covered 4 intermittent catheters a month, products intended for single use. Yet she needed to cath multiple times a day.
I call the company and they're like, they're not reusable. You're just supposed to use them once. Well, I guess you're supposed to boil them or clean them. So I had to, I would pay for extra catheters because I'm not going to reuse catheters if I go in public or something like that. I'm just throw it away because it's already you're getting UTIs because you're introducing things into your body by using a catheter in the first place. So I just had to buy extra every month. But they figured out that because they were doing this and not paying for enough catheters, people were having to be hospitalized for UTIs. And I had to be hospitalized for UTIs where I had to have IV antibiotics because I was getting UTIs.
Years later, 8 to 10 years by her memory, coverage loosened after it became undeniable. Rationing catheters led to expensive hospitalizations for UTIs. Policy followed cost, not need. Even now, she buys extras when she can because the alternative is life-threatening.
You still are only allowed a certain amount. So if you have a small bladder and you have to cath more often, and if I have to cath, I get autonomic dysreflexia, which means that my body's telling me you need to do something right now because it shoots your blood pressure up. It, makes you feel like a headache, like your head's going to explode. It makes you nauseous. It makes you feel hot. But that happens, and that can cause a stroke, which can cause death.
Other care came too late. Botox injections to calm a spastic bladder were approved only after years of failed meds. Her heaviest burden is pain.
It feels like you're on fire and being stabbed every inch. So from my injury level down, it just feels like somebody set me on fire and then is stabbing me everywhere.
A neurosurgeon discussed a procedure, one last option after medications and therapies failed. Medicare denied it. Medicaid, as secondary, wouldn't pay either. When Medicare says no, Medicaid rarely reverses the verdict. And because of her Medicare-Medicaid plan rules, she can't go out of state to seek care, even if she paid the 20% herself.
Medicare is not going to let you go to this state to get something and then you can pay the 20% that Medicare doesn't pay or whatever Medicare doesn't pay because you can go out of state. I've tried to go to different hospitals and they're like, we don't accept your insurance.
Consequences and calls to account.
Cori withdrew from college after the injury and planned to return, but she never did. Pain and paperwork have a way of canceling plans.
It got a lot worse, around 2015, to the point where it started affecting my life where, I can't even always go have dinner with my friends if I want to for a couple hours, or I can't volunteer somewhere anymore. And, I want to, I just need to lay down and rest and try to like distract myself, even though there's not really distracting from it, but just I'm exhausted from it.
Her dream is modest and vivid. An arm-powered recumbent trike and a few good trails. Something joyful her body could still do.
I used to, I have a bike that's arm, so it's like a 3-wheel bike and you wheel like this, and I got where I couldn't get on that and ride that anymore, or, even just like going on the trails, like all that stuff. So yeah, if insurance did that, then that would be a big deal.
She lives in a state that depends heavily on federal health programs. Yet too many leaders vote like the need isn't theirs to meet. West Virginia eventually expanded Medicaid, but eligibility rules, managed care networks, and benefit gaps still leave people stranded.
I think they voted to not increase the wages for people that work for Medicaid waiver, which would help people to be able to get better care, because people need to take jobs where they can pay their bills. So people aren't going to take those jobs if they can work anywhere else and make more money, even if they want to have a job where they could help people and felt like that they were helping people. Even if that was the type of job they would like to do, they still have to make enough money to live. So they're going to choose a different job.
Surviving trauma.
She survived a trauma that rewired her body. The programs that eventually saved her also keep her climbing new mountains. Denials, short staffing, hours that don't match the need, treatments just out of reach.
Why would they go along with voting for things to hurt the people that they're supposed to be helping? Those were some of the questions I would want to know. And do you even care about us West Virginians?
Dual eligibility sustained her life, but it did not afford her her freedom.
To learn more about Dual, the true cost of care, tell your dual eligibility story, or to get involved, visit dualcostofcare.com.